Hey, what's up? This is Don, and welcome to the second part of our brain cell animation tutorial. And today I'm gonna show you just some ideas on how to make this look better in After Effects. This is the render exactly as it came out of Cinema 4D. You know, it doesn't look too bad, but I think we can take this a little bit further in After Effects just to make it look more interesting. So just a quick breakdown of what this actually is. I exported the Cinema 4D render with the camera and also a light which I just placed in the middle of the scene, and this is called a emitter, because we're going to be using this with Trapcode Particular to generate some particles. Now, I actually kind of skipped the step for exporting 3D data to After Effects, but it's something which has been covered quite extensively in lots of places. So I'll see if I can maybe place a link below the video to an example of someone exporting 3D data from C4D to After Effects. Alright, the render has an alpha on it. It looks like this, and I did this so I could, I would have the ability to change the background in After Effects. So if I create a new solid, I can call this BG, and let's put this below everything and go to Effect, Generate, and then Ramp. And I'm gonna set this to be a radial ramp. The start color, which is currently black, this can be some kind of blue picked off from one of the places on the render here. Maybe make it less saturated and darker, and then the end color is gonna be just black, and then I can adjust how this looks using the different handles. So I think something like this looks quite interesting. It's just better than just a standard black background. And actually with this you could play around with the idea of having a bright background instead. That can also look quite interesting, just to see what looks better in your eyes. Alright. Next up, I want to add some particles, just to add more, something else, because right now we have this, the brain cells look kind of cool, but there's nothing around them, and I thought adding particles would be a good way to just improve the scene. So let me create a new solid. Let's call this particles. And I'm gonna go to Effect, Trapcode, and Particular. And actually looking at this, I'm actually realizing there was probably not much need for the light which I brought from Cinema 4D, because this is gonna be in the world center anyway. So if I just change the emitter type to say box, if I position it on 0, so here, I can then increase the size of this. It needs to be quite high, so let's say 5000 on X, 5000 on Y, and 5000 in Z space. And I think this is enough just to make sure that I have particles all the way to the edge of the frame. I think I could probably go to 10,000 on all the three sides, so something like this, just to make sure that I have enough particles in the scene. Okay, you can barely see any particles, they're too small, so let's go to the particle section and set the size to say 10 so we can see more. And also these are just popping into the scene. Let's have more of them actually. Let's set the number of particles a second to maybe 1,000. So right, okay, now there's a lot now. It's probably too much. 500. They're just popping into the scene, right? And that doesn't look very nice. So let me go to opacity of a life, and here we can use one of the preset graphs. So I think the third one on the list looks quite interesting. Not too bad. I'm gonna change the color of the particles to something bluish. Let me pick a color from a place on the render. I think this here, maybe whiten it slightly, just so this blend in nicer. If this seems to be moving too fast, what I can do is change the velocity, or lower this to about maybe 75. And also on frame 0, you can see that's when we see the particles start to appear. I want the particles to be already there by the time the animation starts. So if I go to the emission extras, I want to set the pre-run to 100 so that the particles go through at least one cycle by the time the simulation gets to frame 0, which is the beginning. And so now I have something like this. Quite interesting. Now, one issue here is that if you look, if I zoom in here, I rendered this very low res, so it's kind of pixelating this, but I think you can still see what I'm talking about. There are particles which are way back, in terms of where they are in 3D space, but they're still appearing in front of this this cell. So what I did to fix this was duplicate the render first of all, and place this above the particles layer, and then I went to the particular layer and then set the track matte to be Luma, but in fact no, it was alpha inverted. So now the particles only appear where the cell doesn't cover over. So anywhere where the cell is, or the brain cells are, you're not going to see any particles. And actually, in terms of this being realistic, it's not, because now we don't have any cells in the foreground, for example. But I thought that was the best compromise, and I think it still looks decent. Okay, so that's how you add the particles. This is something someone specifically asked for, and it was part of the preview anyway, so it's only fair that I show you how to do everything. Right, the next step, I think I just want to add some more glow, particularly to the red section. So I need to isolate the red on its own and then sort of apply it on top of the whole render. I'm gonna duplicate the layer once more. Let's put this all the way to the top, and then I'm gonna go to Effect and Keying, and I want to extract, and the channel we want to extract is red. Let me solo this by itself. And the way this works is, once you select the channel range you want to isolate, you then use the white point here to basically suck that color out. That's the first step, and then you invert so that you're left with just that color. And here you can maybe readjust how this looks by playing around with the white point still. So around here looks decent for me, and now I'm just left with the pixels which represent the pulse. So what I can do then with this is, if I unsolo this, set the blending mode of the layer to say screen, right, and instantly those areas will appear brighter, but I don't like how that looks that much. I'm gonna have to blur it slightly. Go to blur and sharpen and fast blur, and let's just increase this, and maybe actually set this to add, and that is the difference. So this is without the glow effect. Oh no, this is with the glow effect, and this is without. And you can exaggerate this by increasing the radius. You could make a duplicate layer, and then maybe lower the glow on that. Just keep playing with it until you get something which looks good for you. I think I could probably also just add some glow to the original thing. So if I go to the layer, let's go to stylize and glow, and I want to set the threshold. Actually, let's set this quite low. I'm gonna duplicate then this layer too. Go to effect, blur and sharpen, fast blur, and let's make this quite high, and then set the blending mode to add also, and then maybe lower the opacity to about 50, so it isn't too overpowering. So I'm just playing around with the layers and trying to just blend them into each other to get something which looks more interesting. Okay, I can then just do some basic color correction, color grading. Let me add a curves adjustment, and I'm just gonna create a simple S-curve. Oops. Let me reset that, something like this maybe. And I think I want some more blue in the darks there. Now there's two ways to do this. I could change the background colors, but I think a more interesting way to do this is to go to color correction and get color balance, and play around with these here. So in the shadows, which actually tend to be more in the midtones here, I can play around with the balances. So let's take out some red and put in some more blue and maybe a little bit of green, just to color the shadows. And I'm gonna go to the curve here and just maybe wash this out by a small amount, so taking out some contrast. And yeah, just continue to play with these until I have something which I like, and around about here looks good. So in the end, this is what I have. This is probably quite different to what the preview looked like, although I think it's quite similar. But yeah, you know, now you know a few ways you could approach this. You know, adding some glow, adding some particles just for extra depth and atmosphere, and then some basic color grading on top of that to finish the whole thing off. But that's it. That's the end of the two-part series on how to create a brain cell animation. I hope you enjoyed all of it, and most of all found it helpful. But that's it from me. I will see you next time.